Yes. Good day to all. This is Cynthia Concordia from Dream to Rise, and it's another special episode for today because we have a special guest direct from Spain. And she is the CEO, quantum abuse recovery coach, mentor, and artist. Having grown and spent her life in a dysfunctional narcissistic household, she made her promise to help humanity not only fully heal and recover from abuse, but also help to raise the collective consciousness on our endless multidimensional potential. She uses a body plus mind plus soul approach in her work, so she makes sure people like you shift their lives from hopeless victim to manifestor victor. So without further ado, I would just like to introduce to you Elisaveta Kuni. I hope I got it right.
Yeah. It's Elisaveta. It's a Russian name. That's half Russian.
And sometimes we call you Elisa.
Yeah, that's the short name.
The short name. So
Yeah.
how is it now in in Spain? Where are you, in Madrid?
Yeah, in the capital.
In
Yes.
the capital. So is it warm now there?
It's getting colder. Yeah, because it's
Getting
winter
colder.
already.
Yeah, I could see you're wearing turtleneck.
Yeah.
Okay. So let us start, Elise. Should I call you Elisa? Huh?
Yeah, sure, because it's
Okay.
shorter, it's easier.
Yeah. So Elisa, could you tell us something about yourself that brought you to where you are right now? By the way, to our listeners, Elisa is one of the co-authors of our Dream to Rise anthology, and I'm so excited that this anthology book is coming soon, and that is in December 5. And super excited with having the 20 amazing co-authors joining this project. Sharing light, spreading light, so you may be guided. So while you're traveling in the dark, to be able to see your or discover your purpose in life, we'll be here to provide our stories or share our stories, so you may be inspired and empowered. Okay, Elisa, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm deeply honored to be here. And yeah, I'm just another survivor, another fighter here that made it
Excuse me,
through.
Elisa, could you make it a little bit louder?
Yes, sure. So thank you so much for having me. I'm deeply honored. I'm so excited to be here. I'm just another abuse survivor, a fighter, and just made it through this whole life situation. And now thriving as the owner of my own business and helping others to do the same, to basically survive from abuse as I did myself, you know. So should I, share a bit about my story?
Sure, please. That would be great.
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, I'm a narcissistic abuse survivor. This means that my whole life I grew up in a very, toxic, abusive, dysfunctional environment. This means that I went basically through psychological abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, even physical abuse, which was honestly very hard for me to endure. The dysfunctionality was in my family, in my parents, but it also kind of extended to the whole relatives. I'm sure that if you are a survivor listening to this, you will relate a lot. So the dysfunctionality, the toxicity, I started noticing like growing more intense when I was going through my first spiritual awakening that happened around when I was 15, 16. So yeah, after this I started to actually think that something was very wrong in this environment in my family, and I actually started to do research and educate myself. And that's how I basically became the scapegoat, which is the person that everyone like blames for their own problems, like they project their own issues. And but I didn't care. Like I started to educate myself, research on mental health, trauma, generational trauma as well. And yeah, and then I moved out and I created my own business to help people to basically heal, but not like fully not heal like only mind based, because this is what conventional therapy is all about. So my approach, as Cynthia mentioned before, is combines body, mind, and energy soul work. This is very important to ensure that we are fully healed and this trauma symptoms are not chasing us for our entire lives. So this is how I am right now.
So
And of course I moved out.
you mentioned that it was when you were 15 years old that you you discovered there was this spiritual awakening. So that means the abuse started very young, when you were still very young.
Yeah, I that's a very great that you noticed that, because I usually, when I was young, I always was like the perfect student. I was the golden child, as we call it in mental health, in this narcissistic abuse dynamics. This means that I had to do everything perfectly. I had to maintain the perfect image of the family. And I often thought that, these education methods that were actually toxic, I thought there were like cultural things. So that's why I didn't think about them. Like one example was basically I was writing essays, and
Mhm.
if I did something wrong, like even if it was like a tiny little bit, my papers were completely torn and I had to restart the paper again. So things like that, I thought they were like cultural things. For example, in the Soviet Union, they were like, okay, this is normal, I don't have to care, this is like my education. But then I had my spiritual awakening when I actually fainted in front of my high school. And I actually started to think, hey, why am I living like this? Like there's something actually wrong with this.
So it's not only your family or your parents that's abusing you, but even outside there was something
Yeah,
that.
outside I would say, in a way that it was, for example, my relatives. I didn't receive direct abuse from my relatives, but they were like cooperating in a way that they didn't question what was going on, like
So
this.
they're even supporting it.
Yeah,
Oh
because
my.
it was normal, it was normalized, so nobody ever questioned it.
And that's how they were raised, especially the
Mm-hmm.
elders, right? So they think
Exactly.
it's normal and not realizing that it's really impacting the individual. And I'm so sorry to hear that it started at a very young age. Oh my. And and the most important thing is you recognized it immediately at a very young age, 15 years old. And you took that uncomfortable action um, to to work things out and to help yourself at least to make that change in your life. And I am so proud of you. You're still young. So there's
Yeah.
still a lot of things in store for you in the future. And what you're doing now, helping others, is a big, big thing for everyone, though, to those especially who are still struggling. A lot of people are unable to speak up because of what? Fear and so on, of what other people would say, right? So
Yeah.
when you did this, when you realized this, how were how's your family in terms of that? There's a change in you. How did they uh, accept it? I don't know. Because usually our family members are the first one to criticize us, right? I don't know. I've
Yeah.
experienced that.
Yeah. That's a great question, actually, because there was a change in dynamics. So
Um,
as I mentioned before, I was a golden child. I did everything perfectly. I received always the top grades. But when I realized that there was something wrong, and this was basically me starting to rebel more. I was in my teenage years, so obviously my parents also thought that, hey, she's a teenager, she's rebelling, like this is just a phase. But I was also rebelling in a way that to show them like, hey, let's stop this um toxicity. Obviously, they didn't accept it, and the change in dynamics was like before I was the golden child. Now I was the scapegoat. I was the one that they were blaming every single problem on, that we have as a family and as myself. And obviously, the title of the golden child, it passed on my brother, because as
oh,
they thought of me that I was broken, that I wasn't perfect
oh
anymore.
my.
Now we had to, like, my parents had to put someone as the golden child to be like the representative of the family. So that was now my brother. I was the scapegoat, and now my brother was like the best child in a way. So that was the change.
So how were you able to deal with this with your parents? I mean, did you just let it go? Did you communicate your feelings with them? Or because I'm sure there's this pain within you during that time. Oh my, I'm no longer I feel not accepted or something. I feel that I was a failure because I'm no longer the golden child. And I don't know if you had that kind of feeling and how did you deal with it?
Yeah, there were actually very lonely years, because I mean, you can imagine like being a teenager, maybe you're extrovert, maybe you have a large group of friends,
Uh-huh.
but it wasn't the case for me because I was already kind of like a shy girl also since childhood. So it was very, starting from, it was very hard for me to make friends. When I fainted in front of my high school, they diagnosed me with epilepsy, the seizures.
Epilepsy?
And yeah,
Oh.
and I thought that, okay, that's all, that's done, I'm broken, I'm not perfect anymore. Obviously, my especially my mother also thought that I was broken, that this was for life, and that there was nothing that you could do about it. I was very secretive and very, protective of this secret because I didn't want to lose the people I already had, in school. I didn't want to lose like my friends, for them to like think of me as some,
Mhm,
broken
mhm.
thing that could just fall and faint at any moment. It was very lonely for me, so I just usually I isolated. I spend most times in my, in the break, in lunchtime, I spend them alone, just dancing and music were literally like one of my saviors. Like they helped me to keep going.
Especially in Russia, dancing is part of the curriculum in school, right?
Yeah, but this I was actually born in Spain, so
Ah,
we
you were
just,
born in
yeah,
Spain. Okay.
yeah. So we spent like, we went to Russia every 2 years in summer. It wasn't like much. I still received the culture and the education because like my mother was like the main boss of the family, so it was very, it was more than the Spanish culture. But still, I went to school in Spain here.
Okay. So how did you communicate this with it seems that you just
Yeah,
did
yeah.
it by yourself and then you just try to change your energy by dancing and so on, but it's still
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
I actually tried, but they didn't listen. And when I fainted, we actually like tried therapy because like the doctor suggested, hey, do you want to go to therapy to maybe like solve the issues? But with a very not only immature parent, but especially with a narcissistic parent, don't want to admit that something is wrong with them, that they have flaws, that they have trauma that they have to work with. So I just went to therapy just for 1 month. It was very the therapist actually helped me a lot to grow into a more confident self. She told me like communication styles, how to communicate better, but I just tried them on my family and this didn't work because it was just I was the only one trying. They didn't want to change
Ah,
anything. So when I remember when the therapist just sent them, the same papers to kind of diagnose them to see like their psychological analysis, they just stopped because as soon as they would complete the papers, the therapist would see that
ah.
it's not only me, the one
Yes,
making.
exactly. Because in a relationship, it should be two, there are two parties involved. See, so up to now, that's still a problem. Is that still a problem?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's still a problem because I moved out. I keep first I went no contact to,
Ah,
detox myself from all the energies, all the heavy emotions. Now I'm minimal contact with especially with my father, which is like my father without my mother's influence. He's more like kind of okay, like normal. So yeah, I have minimum contact. I keep my boundaries very strong. This is very
good,
important.
good.
Yeah, and yeah, that's it. And I keep like minimum contact because I have my cat there. Like my cat is with my family, so I'm planning to take her when the time is right, when I can. So yeah, that's it.
Uh-huh.
Like
Yes,
yeah, bound.
I agree with you. Sometimes if we think that we are in a toxic environment, and then you tried everything to make things work, I mean, to work things out, and nothing is happening because they're not cooperating, then distance yourself. Yes, because if you're not aligned with the
Mhm.
values and everything, it will be hard. It will be very draining, especially on your part, no? And you won't be able to achieve what you want to achieve in life.
Exactly.
Yes. So, I've heard that, are there any other lessons which you've learned here besides that you've set your boundaries, you distance yourself from the toxic environment? What have you realized based from the journey you've gone through?
I love this question because
Mhm.
like the most important lesson I would say, and not only learning it like through the abuse and after the period of abuse, but also before, I would say it's unconditional love. And this is like if we actually make it more detailed, I would say for any survivor or just any person that has, emotionally mature parents that they have trauma, it's just in simple words, it's saying do the opposite of what your parents are doing, especially if you have like toxic parents. I'm not talking about relationships right now, but it was basically this belief system allowed me to survive when I was a teenager. And this is like the whole lesson is unconditional love, because in toxic relationships we often encounter lots of conditions, like our parents won't love or accept us if we don't get the top grades. That's why I had lots of pressure on myself to always perform the best. It's also the best behavior. It's also like kind of dressing up as they want. I also experienced like I had to dress like usually formally in a very childish way because I sometimes think that my mother kind of didn't want me to fully grow up in a woman, which can be like result in jealousy. This is very common in narcissistic abuse relationships. But yeah, it's unconditional love. The more you see your parents, for example, not accepting yourself as you are, just love yourself more, accept yourself with these flaws, and also with other people. I grew up in in a household that combined both sides of Christianism. Catholicism from my father, which is like the Spanish side, and the Orthodox side from my mother, but both are Christianism. So even though I'm not practicing the religion, I really admire the figure of Jesus Christ, you know, this unconditional love. So I love like reading about him and what he would do in certain situations. And this unconditional love is just my main motto. Like love myself fully, unconditionally,
Mhm.
and also love others. Of course, love others comes with boundaries. People have to really not, you know, mess up unconditional love with being a people pleaser. It's different,
Yes.
but the lesson is here.
I'm glad you mentioned about God, Jesus, about
Yeah.
unconditional love, and that the love of God is the one that keeps me moving. And I don't know if that's the same thing with you. And when you mentioned about loving yourself first, that is very important,
Mhm.
because you won't be able to share that love if you don't love yourself. You don't know how to love yourself. It overflows, no? And whatever energy that you have because of that love from God, it is being transmitted to other people, and they mirror that back to you. And that's how we build meaningful, more meaningful, and deeper relationships. And I thank you for sharing that with me. How I wish the teenagers, the other young adults are able to listen to this. And because sometimes me, I've realized that I was raised in a very strict from a strict parents. No, they very authoritarian. Do this, do this, do that, and I applied it as well to my children. And I never knew um, that they were really distancing from me, and they
Mm.
just spend more time with their friends rather than them opening themselves, their problems, share their stories with me. It's very shallow. It's a very superficial relationship we've had. But when I discovered that there were that they were distancing themselves from me, I asked them, "Is there any problem?" Oh, because you don't know how to appreciate. And what do you mean? Because you only you're happy when it seems that when we bring grades or share our test papers with you, 95, why not 100? When we give we give you 100 scores, why not 103 or 105? Never did
Mm.
you appreciate what the effort that they were doing. So, you know what? That was a shock. And it made me really reflect on how I was raising them. And I found out that I was raised like that. So because we were expected, we're not rich. So they invested so much on education. So we were expected to bring in high grades, high marks. So when they see that our grades were low, that's the time we will get reprimanded. And so what I've seen while I was growing up, it's all negative. They always
Yeah.
focus on the negative rather than the effort we did. So that made me change how I treat now my children. And now I'm glad that my children are very close to me. They open up and more matured. And because
Mm.
I had to make the adjustment as well. And I think parents should also be aware of our responsibility as parents, not being authoritarian, not being strict, but be with them and show them that you love. And that's where unconditional love comes in. Sometimes there's tough love, but then we have to explain that to our children. Why did we do this? It is because it is for your own good as well. It's just communication. I'm glad. I'm glad you've touched this, and it's always nice to see the perspective of the younger generation, and I that's why I continue to learn, engaging with different people from different genders, from different age groups, and so on. And I'm glad you brought this up. So I know you're doing your being being the CEO of your company. So what is now your goal for the next 12 months?
For the next ones, I actually have a lot in mind. But for example, for the next generations, I would say not only unconditional love, but also to, I mean, unconditional love is actually like part of the whole healing process. So I think we would need, as a collective also, to open more our minds, because I noticed there is actually kind of like a breach between generations. From example, the generation of our grandparents, and then the millennials, and then the generation Z that I take part in. So it's like we have, each generation is upset or angry at the previous one because, hey, they didn't understand me, you know.
Yeah.
But this is actually part of the unconditional love motto. It's the realization and the understanding that people didn't have it easy, let's call it like that. They have their struggles, they have their problems. That's why they are the way they are. But at the same time, I wish like there is more understanding from the other's perspective, but at the same time it's also put like boundaries, and because people tend to confuse like understanding with putting an excuse like, hey, this person is abusive, you
Mhm.
can do anything about it because they also have trauma. No, like having trauma doesn't excuse, you know,
Yeah.
the abuse. But I wish there were generally more understanding, more empathy, you know.
Uh-huh. So how will you achieve this in terms, is it in your program or what?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
you,
Yeah, so like generally in society, I think we need like to start educating in general, not only educating like the younger generations, the children, but also educating ourselves. That's why like I'm so, even though, you know, there's like negative things about TikTok, you know, like social media, Instagram with the shorter videos that decrease eventually kind of tend to decrease our attention span. There's also the positive sides, which is like short videos with lots of educational content. And this is very beneficial. I really believe so. And for my program, I actually have a program. It's a 3 months intensive mentorship. It includes group coaching, individual coaching, and also an online course. And in this online course, you have my exclusive methodology, which is like body healing, somatic healing. You do exercises, you move your body, because trauma is usually stored in your body. It's not only in the mind, like we think anxiety is in the mind and that's it. Trauma is also in the body, so we have to release it. So it's body, mind. There's lots of techniques I learned from my certifications in mental health, trauma work, post-traumatic stress disorder, which I'm specialized in, and of course the energy work, which I'm also an energy healing. I'm a master healing healer and teacher in Reiki. So there's lots of techniques you can start using to heal yourself, also your energy, to cut cords with people, with toxic people. Everything is included in the course, and this is the best way I found. Like I combine all the techniques that work with me. That's why now I don't have epilepsy. Like I took all the tests and everything is great. My brainwaves are great. This is how you heal what they call chronic diseases and illnesses. Everything can be healed, I believe. You just have to find the exact method that works for you. And this
so
is what I just,
uh-huh.
yeah, this is what I wrote down in the program.
So this is what you're doing right now. So what would be your emphasis for your goal for the next 12 months?
Emphasis, what do you mean? Like
Now, what would
the
be another action step that you'll be taking for the next 12 months? What is your specific goal? Because you're already doing this, you're already offering. Is there something new that you would like to do?
I mean, new in a way, I'm always growing. I'm always continuing on educating myself. For the next months, I would say I would love, like, I'm still working on expanding my business, because the more I expand myself, the more I can help other people. Like, I consider myself a very humanitarian soul, like, since childhood. So what I really wish to do, I always saw money as something that is evil, like these big corporations and these big businesses. But now that I'm in the entrepreneurial side, the business, now I really wish to use this money I earn not only for myself, to be and feel abundant and happy, and just cut the generational the trauma, because I also come from a family that always, in both sides, they have been always financial struggles. So not only for myself, but I really wish to have this financial abundance to help others, especially like with this every world problem. So I really wish to contribute more to it, because like I really believe money is abundant. We are just having the
An
wrong
energy.
mindset.
Yeah, it's an
Yeah,
energy. Yes.
exactly. We have the wrong mindset to it, and we're using it wrong. Like, at least like most people I saw.
So how will you achieve to increase that money, financial resources? How will you, what are you planning to do?
Well, first of all, this is like really big work. I'm still working on it, like it's a never ending process. But as I mentioned, it's the mindset.
Yes.
Like, I'm working on myself as I help my clients. I'm working on myself to just transmute all these beliefs that, I'm poor, I'm hopeless, I don't deserve the money. I tend to undercharge. I know this, even though like I know my insane value of my offers. So I'm really working on these beliefs, and the way I see like most of this goal that I'm going to reach is changing these beliefs. And especially because coming from narcissistic abuse, this is what many survivors share. It's the mindset.
Yes.
We leave the relationship thinking that we're worthless. We leave the relationship thinking that we should feel shame just for being ourselves. This is, of course, there's strategy. There's like the physical aspect of taking action, of learning more about business. But I really consider, especially also as women, because I feel like we as women have another way of manifesting in business. It's the mindset.
Yes.
And when
Agree.
you just heal your trauma, you open your energy for a lot of things.
Yes, I agree with you. So, any one simple advice you'd like to share to our listeners?
Yeah, actually, I would say, I mentioned this before, but it's unconditional love. The more you love yourself, the more you unlock your energy and your ability to receive not only love, but also financial abundance. For example, if you are in a toxic abusive relationship right now, I don't care, it's parents or it's a romantic relationship or it's even friends or at work, you feel shame. You feel shame and guilt, and this is like one of the lowest vibrational frequencies you can be in. When you are in such a low state, it's very hard for you to attract the situations and experiences and people that you want.
Yes.
So just love yourself step by step. All the flaws that you have every day, accept them with compassion, with love,
Yes.
without any expectations.
And
Love your inner child.
take uncomfortable action so that change may happen, right? Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Exactly. So before, would you like to share your contact information if they need to connect with you?
Sure, sure.
Mhm.
So I'm all over social media. I'm almost in every single platform. My username is the same one in almost like every social media platform. My username is Elisaveta with a V dot sk, which is the initials for my surname, and it's also the name of my company, Elisaveta sk, Elisaveta.sk. And I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, I'm
.com,
in
is that elisaveta.sk.com? Is that your
yeah,
website?
yeah, my website is actually elisavetask.com.
Okay.
That's the name of the
Oh,
website.
okay.
Yeah, on YouTube and everywhere. You can also check my program website. There will be a link.
Yes.
And yeah, you can find me anywhere. I also have a podcast as well.
Oh, that's great. And again, don't forget the Dream to Rise anthology is fast approaching. And are you excited, Elisa?
Yes, I'm so excited actually. Like there's a collection of all the stories. It's
Uh-huh.
so
All your stories will be in one book, and I'm sure for every page that you read, you won't leave that book. You'll keep on reading. And it's so exciting. Yes. So again, thank you, Elisa. And I wish you all the best and the success of your company and our book. I'm truly excited about our book. How I wish I could invite you in my inner circle because I need young generation to share their story so that the parents may be aware of what is going on with the younger generation. But the timing is kind of hard because you're in Madrid and we usually have our inner circle on Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I don't know. Think about it, but I think it's early morning there.
I actually have a couple of people in mind. I will see what I can do.
Yes, but it will surely make an impact with my community because a lot of us are at the like in the 40s to 70s. So it's a big thing for us to learn from the younger generation. That's why others are having difficulty maintaining a good relationship with their children, and your insights might be very helpful. But again, we'll get in touch with each other, right?
Okay, yes, of course.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much, Elisa, and I thank the listeners till next episode. God bless. Bye.